Hello students! Today we start learning how to create our first menu in WordPress. At the end of these two lessons, you have a horizontal menu a little like the one I showed you in the theme that is ready and working. Let's do this! Well, so far we don't have any menu created. So if I go over to Appearance, you notice that there is still nothing here related to menus. In order to manage our own menus, we have to do something in the functions.php file. This file will be used to register our menus so we can then use them in our theme. First of all, I'll start by putting the code together. So I'm gonna create a new function here called fancy underscore lab underscore config. Inside it, I'm gonna put all the settings for my theme. Let's add a new add action here and say that this new function will be triggered on the hook called after setup theme. And let's pass the last parameter to this function that has to do with the priority of execution of this function, which will be 0. This way, everything we create here inside this function will be executed when we have the after setup theme hook available. The dynamics of this mechanism here is similar to the one we used to add style sheets up here. But before creating a menu, let's create some static pages within WordPress. Let's go to Pages, Add New. One thing I should mention is that I'm gonna use the Gutenberg editor here in the course. Although it seems that people aren't really enjoying the Gutenberg experience right now in the beginning. However, if you want, you can continue using the classic WordPress editor. Both editors have all the fields I'm gonna use here in the course. The only problem is that the location of the controls is different in both editors. If you're using the classic editor, it might take a while to find some things. And I made the choice to use Gutenberg because the days are numbered for the classic editor. By 2021, it will no longer have support, so stay tuned. So let's create some pages, which will be used in the theme. And the first one will be the home page. For all the pages, I'll just write a small description. Now the blog page, about, contact. So creating a menu the right way in WordPress involves 4 steps. The first step is to register the menu. But what does it mean to register a menu? For WordPress, to register a menu would be simply created logically, so we can then use it. The first thing that we're gonna do is use the WordPress function called register nav menus. So register underscore nav underscore menus. Don't forget the letter S at the end of the name, right? Like every function call, it has a parenthesis that opens and closes and a semicolon at the end. This function allows me to define an array, which, to put it simply, is a list of elements. Why are we going to use an array? Because we can register more than one menu at a time. In fact, this is an exercise that you can do yourself. Do you remember that we have 2 menus in the initial design? One placed at the top and the other at the bottom. I'm gonna register one of these menus in this lesson, and your exercise will be to register the second menu. How about that, huh? The first element of this array will be the slug of this menu. Inside WordPress, every time you hear the word slug, it means a short name, a handle. Whenever you use a slug, don't use spaces or special characters, right? And try to write everything in lowercase too, okay? I'm gonna create a slug called fancy underscore lab underscore main underscore menu. This Fancy Lab main menu is what we call the key of this element of the array. The value of this array element will be the name that the menu will have inside the admin area. Say a more friendly name. In our case, it will be Fancy Lab main menu. And later you understand where this value will be displayed. By doing this, I just register what WordPress calls a menu position. Okay, now an important information. If I put a comma here, I can register a second menu or a second menu position. Actually, I can register multiple menus within this single function. I can assign a new slug and a new value. So I would have a second menu position registered. Each menu corresponds to what WordPress calls a position. But I'm not going to do that now. This will be a job for you guys. Now when I save this file and return to the dashboard, refreshing the page, if I hover over the appearance menu, you see that the menus options is now available. So let's go to step number 2. Step number 2. When we hit menus, we open the WordPress menu manager area. So this is it. And WordPress automatically creates a menu called menu 1. I'll give a name to this menu, and the name is going to be Fancy Lab main menu. So it could be just a main menu, but I will pass the same name we used there in the functions.php file. Actually, it doesn't matter how I write here in admin. At the moment I'm inside the WordPress admin area, it's like I am a regular user, the owner of the site, for example. So it doesn't matter the way I do it here. The important thing is to follow the standards there in the files. Over there, you have to do everything with the mind of a developer. But here in the dashboard, in the admin area, is the user's playground. But I recommend you write it the way I'm doing it here. Because later you learn how to create a demo of the theme to offer to the user, and if you use another name here, you might get confused when we get there. So I'll click on Create Menu. Two options appear below when the menu is created. Automatically add new top level pages to this menu. This allows that the moment I create a new static page, it is automatically included in the menu. I will leave this option unchecked. The option below tells us where the menu is located in the theme. Do you remember that we entered two values when we registered the menu in the functions.php file? The option that is being shown here corresponds to the second value that we specified. In our case, Fancy Lab main menu. If I choose this option, I'm telling WordPress that the menu I'm creating will be relative to the main menu I registered in the functions.php file, which I also called Fancy Lab main menu. I'm gonna save this here. So, is that all? No, it's not ready yet. Let's move on to step number 3, which will be adding the menu items. You see on the left side, I have some items to add. I have a list of pages, posts, custom links, categories, etc. Under pages, I have those pages I created at the beginning of the lesson. Do you remember them? I'm not going to add all these pages to my menu because they are already here. But if they weren't here, I would select one by one and click the Add to Menu button. I can reorder the items if I want to, and also remove some items. Now I'm gonna save it again, and the menu is ready, at least in the admin area. Is that enough to have our menu? Let's visit the home page, refresh the page. But look at that, there's nothing here yet. The word menu still appears and nothing else. So what's missing then? The fourth and last step is missing. That will be point out in header.php that the menu we created in the administration and registered in functions.php will be placed in this specific area here. But that will be a subject for our next lesson. So, catch you later, guys. Until then.